We're on. All right. Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on May 10th, 2023, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Bob Rawls, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 18 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. Whoops. It is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute using *6. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I'll ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Bob DeVecchio.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Karen Latin.
Present.
Mary Sullivan is
I'm present remotely.
remotely present. All right. Elise Gordon.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
And I'm here, so we do have a quorum. Nikki Smith, Chatham's conservation agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
All right, so I just wanted to do a quick announcement that unfortunately there was a advertising hearing or advertising mistake in the hearings for the town of Chatham for the sewer system, the 552 Orleans Road, 16 Windmill Lane, and 45 Old Harbor Lane are all having to be continued to 5/24. All the representatives have been notified of that, and but I just wanted to let anybody that was here to listen to those hearings, let them know that they will be on 5/24. And we will open and close them officially later, but just anyone who's here now, I don't want you to waste your time. But with that, we will start with the rest of the agenda, which is
One question.
the request.
One
Yep,
question, Nikki. Are we approaching capacity for the 24th as a result?
No, we only had two. I think Crystal said two new filings for the 24th.
Okay.
And so with what I'm assuming you guys have all mostly reviewed the files and stuff, it should be.
Right. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to.
Yeah. And then if you could just, I emailed everyone as well. So if you could just give any of your comments that you might have so we can forward those to the representatives in hopes that they can take care of those, small questions, like if you have a planting plan question or something like that, they can maybe take care of it before, within the 2 weeks that we have to the next hearing. So maybe they can take care of that before, maybe make some modifications to a plan or something like that, so that we try not to delay everybody. And as well as that, the RDA for the town of Chatham, I was hoping, I guess we can go through this when we open the hearings real quick, but I was hoping to at least get one or two of these maybe started to basically draft up and approve, draft up the order and RDA or DOA so that they can be voted on as approved projects and then vote on the permit as well, that same hearing. So, two of them, the septic system and the town of Chatham one, I don't think probably have too many issues, but yes, if you could just give me your comments so that I can figure that out. If I think they can be drafted beforehand and then approved and voted on at the same hearing. But again, we can get to that when we open each one.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is a request for an extension to the order of conditions for 9 Claflin Landing LLC, map 16E, parcel 11E, F6, SE 103319, proposed hardscape and site improvements.
Good afternoon. For the record, Sean Riley, Coastal Engineering. Can you hear me?
Can indeed.
Okay, so we have three different orders of conditions that are expiring next month. Two of them are fairly straightforward with the work that's been done. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes, yeah, we can.
Yep. So the work on the bluffs and the work down out in front of the existing pool out in that dune area for restoration work has been completed spring of 2021. There's been reports submitted. The 3-year survivability is 2024, spring of 2024. So if they do have to do any supplemental planning or replacement, they'd like the opportunity under these two orders to do that, which is the SE 10 3323 and SE 10 3319 to continue with an extension on those for 1 year. And it's that property, and this is the SE 10 3319, which is adjacent to the tennis court. Again, the work was done spring of 2021. 3 years will be spring of 2024. So that's those two projects. The third project is the beach nourishment that took place over this last winter. As far as I know, the work is completed. We'd like the opportunity to leave this order open and extend it for another year. There's nothing planned, and I believe Ted Keon is in the audience. Nothing planned for dredging at this point, but we'd like to keep the order open if possible for another year. So that's what I have on those three. So with that, I'll open it up. Any questions you may have?
Questions from anyone? So this is your first request for an extension?
That is correct.
Okay.
On all three.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of commentary here, so I guess we can do that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 1-year extension of an order of conditions for 9 Claflin Landing.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 1-year extension for an order of conditions for 0 Claflin Landing, SE 10 3323.
Can I have a second?
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Make a motion that we approve the 1-year extension for an order of conditions for 0 Claflin Landing, SC 10, I don't see it here. Here it is. SC 10 3320.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, thank you. See you in a year.
Thank you. And I do have one. I just wanted to make sure I heard this right. I've got a notice of intent for 552 Orleans Road that's going to be continued to 524. You're just going to announce that it's going to be continued later on in the meeting?
Yes, we've already announced it, and we'll announce it again.
Okay, very good.
Sorry, we have
All
a
right.
hand up for this.
For 552,
Yep, so that's all I have is those two.
I was wondering if I could address.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Hold on, Sean, there's, I'm sorry, could you identify yourself?
Sure.
Come up here and,
Stephen Goldstein, 560 Orleans Road.
oh, I see, okay.
You have to be in a microphone.
Yeah, just go ahead and stay with it, push the button, make sure it's green.
We haven't opened it, so I don't.
You're right, we haven't opened this up, so I don't know what just briefly, what's your intent?
My wife dropped off a packet last Tuesday. There's an easement from my property across 552.
Right,
A number of the things that they're asking you to approve are not allowed under the easement.
Okay, that's fine. I do remember seeing a reference to an easement from a neighbor.
There's actually 3 easements.
3 different.
That weren't mentioned in their report, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Could I
thank
get
you.
the abutter's name so that I could reach out and coordinate?
Stephen Goldstein?
Very good, Stephen.
Are you aware of 3 easements, Sean?
There are,
I know there's a view easement across the backyard.
if you look at your survey, you indicate there's the view easement across the backyard. There's a ingress egress easement down the driveway to the backyard. And then there's also a dock easement. The dock encroaches on the property, but there's an agreement that the dock is fully owned by us and maintained by us.
Okay.
Okay, duly noted.
Yeah, if Stephen could just reach out to me offline, rather than give me his contact information, I'll be glad to work with you.
Where would I find that?
And I can email that packet that was provided.
So
Okay.
you'll provide that to him, Nikki?
No, it was what they submitted to us. I can
Okay.
forward on to you.
Okay, great.
And
So
then
either
you
way,
can
I'll
contact
reach
me,
out to you,
Sean,
Stephen.
whenever. Yeah.
Very good.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you. All right, thank you all. Have a great day.
All right, so next up we have the request for an amended order of conditions, 41 Locust Lane, Jonathan and Alicia Downs, map 15F, parcel 53, SE 103478. This was a phase 2, construction of a catwalk. Stephanie Sequin from Ryder and Wilcox reached out and would like a continuance to June 14th.
Nikki, do you happen to know where this is with regard to zoning?
I think that's why she requested the continuance, if I'm remembering the email correctly.
Okay, because it seems like that's been going on for a while.
It has been.
March? Okay. Okay.
Make a motion that we continue 41 Locust Lane to June 14th, 2023.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
The next one is the amended order of conditions for 65 Sears Road, Sears Point Summer LLC, map 11A, parcel 2J14, SC 103518. This is an amended order of conditions. Proposed addition being reduced in size. The porch will be exchanged for a trellis. Front entry will include a porch, changes to the walkway and steps. Side walkway being removed, shifting rent station to be outside of the NDZ, and a trash enclosure is being relocated.
Yes, hello. If you wouldn't mind identifying yourself and,
Hi, my name is Adrienne Emmerich. I work for the, I'm on the landscape architecture team.
okay.
So I can share my screen.
Right, just for a little background, we were working on this last meeting, but we discovered that there had been changes to the landscaping plan that attention was not drawn to. And so that's why we asked for this conversation today, just for those who are maybe listening in.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just having some trouble with my screen sharing.
It's different from Zoom.
Yeah, I've never used Teams before.
Right. It's, let's see, I haven't done it well either. It's the share button, and then you have to choose from the choices it gives you what you want to share.
Nikki can share.
Or if, yeah, Nikki could also do it if you're, if you'd like.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Yeah, so if there's a specific page or anything like that, I can throw that up for you.
Yeah, can we go to the planting plan? I can't see it. Is it up?
It should be up now. Can everyone see it?
Yes, I can at least.
I think this is our previous planting plan from the previous approval. Do you have the most recent one?
So this one is dated,
Yeah, December is
There
the,
should be
so
one dated
we're looking at the, we want to look at the December 20th plan?
no.
March 20th, 2023.
Oh, we have a April 11th, 2023 plan.
Okay, we can use that one.
Okay. They will be in the original and current.
There sorry.
They're in Dropbox. Just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, this is the right one. So do you want me to go through the plan, or I think you guys had questions about
Well-
the phrase native friendly.
A number of questions, but basically, we assumed that there would be minimal changes from the originally approved plan, and then the latest versions that we saw. And turns out, I think there are more changes there than we had assumed.
Okay.
We had a variety of questions. When I was focusing on the hydrangea situation. I was focusing on the native-friendly moniker, which I didn't quite, I don't know if I saw that they were native-friendly, but we wanted to ask you questions about how you define native-friendly in this case.
Right. So native friendly was really just a word that we were using to indicate that these are plants that grow well in the Cape. They're not invasive. They're not going to cause problems for the native plants that we're proposing to install. But we can certainly change that language if that's something that's causing problems.
Well, I don't know if it in and of itself is not drawing ruffles, I think. Let me ask a specific question. Originally, the plan in the 50 to 100 setback called for 6 blue hydrangeas.
Right.
Whereas this latest one in the same area calls for 24 blue hydrangeas. And so it's probably something we wouldn't have been in favor of originally, and that's one thing I think we should talk about. And there's several things about it that bothered me. First of all, the 400% increase. And then secondly, blue hydrangea means many things. I'm not a hydrangea expert, but I did some reading. And the genus and species, Hydrangea macrophylla, can cover a wide variety of species, hydrangea species, including some that we could refer to as mopheads. And mophead hydrangeas are, to my reading, they produce no nectar at all. In fact, the color from the blossoms is from careful engineering of the leaves, rather to appear as flowers. And then, of course, they're also blue. I guess if you help them be blue. So, for all kinds of reasons, I don't consider this to let us get some native-friendly hydrangeas there, as I define it, which is at least they produce pollen, nectar. I'm sorry. These, I don't think there's if we were to approve this, there would be no guarantee there'd be anything other than a essentially plastic plant. No food value at all. So that was one thing I had, and then others here will probably have some other questions.
Okay. We were shooting for the target of 50% native in that zone, and we did not realize that blue hydrangeas would be objectionable. But we can certainly swap them out I think the client wants to keep those, the 6 transplants that have been approved previously, but we can replace, to the left of the house, that string of hydrangea. We could replace those with something like clethra if that would be appropriate. And then I think on the string at the bottom left, we could do like prairie dropseed. Would that be acceptable?
Virtually anything other than these, and if they were native, would be acceptable to me. So,
Okay.
Janet?
Thanks, Bob. Just stepping back away from the detail of what's there, when we compare the approved planting plan from December 2022 to this most recent, a couple of things strike me right away. In the native plant list for what we call the outer 50, the 50 to 100, it had called for 433 plants over 1,338 square feet. The new one has 225 plants over 1,000 square feet. Native friendly is similarly cut back in size, but since I don't really understand what native friendly means and the benefits of these plants, I'm not going to go there. But the really critical list, the lists of native plants in the no disturb zone, are not tallied up. There's no indication of how many and over what area, but just doing a quick back and forth, they seem to be cut also by roughly a half to 2/3. So what's accounting for this very significant shrinkage of the native plantings?
Yeah, so the house got significantly smaller, and so we made the planting bed smaller. Just because we had less area that we wanted to cover. We're also using some larger plants in the current plan, so that accounts for some of the reduction of plant counts.
Is Thad's the engineer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, or Thad, are you here?
I think he was planning to attend. I don't know if he's
Okay,
here.
because I didn't remember there being a dramatic decrease from what we approved in terms of coverage, hardscape and dwelling from then until now. The way you described the changes, they had mostly to do with, I thought, hardscape. So,
There was, at the bottom left of the house, there was a much larger bump out, and so we had a very large planting bed to kind of totally encompass that. And so we lost a lot of plants in that area when that decreased.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first word or two. What was it? We lost a lot of what?
At the bottom left of the house, there had been a much larger kind of octagonal addition that is no longer part of the plan. And we had a large planting bed around that.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So but the order notes in its findings that there's the overall reduction in coverage under this amendment is 260 square feet.
Okay.
So you said some of the decrease in numbers of plants is because the size of the plant is larger, except on the plan, I'm not seeing any sizes noted. So we have no way of verifying that anything's a larger version than it was previously.
So we do have spacing noted. I guess
Right,
that's
but
really more what I was talking about. Sorry, go on.
well, no, I mean, when you said size, you don't note sizes, so it's hard for us to verify. I do see that you note spacing, but,
I guess we could infer by looking at the spacing that things are reduced.
right,
Yeah,
but it would be nice to
yeah.
have it spelled out. My feeling.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well, that's okay, Bob. Sure.
Just have a comment. Yeah, on the blue hydrangea, actually, hydrangea macrophylla, because of the big leaves, as you know, they transpire a lot of water, and they're water-loving. So we tend not to encourage water-loving plants in today's environment. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be an additional reason why we don't like hydrangeas. At least the one, there are some, as you probably know, there are some hydrangeas that do produce nectar, so I consider them to be more native-friendly than the aforementioned mop heads, but
Doesn't have his hand up though.
Thad is here, okay.
So-
Thad, I don't know how much you heard so far.
Uh,
Nothing? Okay.
Just that you don't like hydrangeas.
Okay. Well, I was trying to, we don't hate all of them, but some of them we actually do hate. But
Fine.
one of the reasons given for the significant change in the landscaping plan from the originally approved to this is the reduction in coverage, I guess. And I was going to ask you to remind us what that reduction was, and I think that Janet found it, or somebody found it.
Okay, very good.
What else? Is that the only thing we're concerned? What do you?
I think I understand the reason for the reductions, and I'm okay with that. I assume that the blue hydrangeas are going to be removed from the buffer zone. I don't have a problem with catmint particularly, but others might. I think it's fine. I wish we didn't have to spend all this time. I wish that these changes had been brought to our attention when this amendment was filed, and not discovered when we're on the verge of voting on an order.
Well, I don't know, can we even vote if they've got to modify the hydrangea count and replace, so?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out is what are the scope of changes that we're asking for? We've already beat the hydrangea question to submission, I think.
But do we need to have it specified what will be replacing the,
Well, yeah,
other than?
I don't know if you know what you're going, do you already have, do you already know what you're going to change?
Yes.
She mentioned
So,
cleanse.
so we're going to keep the 6 transplants, and then we're going to replace, I think it's
18 of
8 to the left of the house with clethra, and then these 10 at the bottom will be replaced with prairie dropseed.
Okay. So if that's the only change, that would be the sort of thing we could typically deal with by the later submission of a revised plan.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else, though? I mean, I didn't really focus on much anything else. That just jumped out at me. It's being an unexpected change.
So my suggestion would be to give 1 week to submit any modified plans, and that way they can all go to the commission to review and make sure you're okay with it, and then we can vote to approve the order on the 24th.
Is that acceptable?
Is there any way we can get something now? I know that the builders have been holding off constructing. They can't get a permit in order to put the footings in. So everything is kind of wide open out there.
Yeah, I mean,
So we're okay with the house and starting the house construction. It's just really the planting plan that everyone has concerns about.
Yeah, but I don't think they can get a permit or an inspection until there's an order.
until there's an amended order. So
Yeah.
we have a draft amended order here in Dropbox that we've looked at before. And I'm okay with going ahead and just looking at it, voting on it, and with the proviso that the planting plan gets amended as we discussed. If that's what you're asking, Thad.
I very much am. We very happily take a condition that we return to you for the planting plan, and then
Yeah,
that can be sorted out in 2 weeks, and then the foundations can go in and they can get the site buttoned up for summer.
Yeah. So those of you who are looking at it in Dropbox, it's there. I think we looked at it before. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Not much to it, really.
We'll have to make sure that we update the dates, because it does say, at least my copy, that it was reviewed on May 3rd, so we need to,
Right. And I think, Nikki, you did this one originally?
Yes, originally.
Yeah. So, you could just,
yeah. I
Add a
just am-
condition saying that they have to
Yes.
submit a revised
Yeah,
planting
good.
plan to be approved by the agent.
right. So I have no comments on it. And does anyone else have any comments on the draft amended order that we've already looked at? Okay. So I think
All
we
right, so
can,
just update the dates, and then we'll need the condition to submit the revised planting plan.
yeah. I think Jen just added that.
I just did it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then, do you have an idea of what the date will, can you give us a date that the planting plan revision will be, so that we can just go ahead and add that as well?
Yeah, we can probably submit it by this Friday.
All right, so that's the 12th.
Or post-dating it. Okay.
All set?
Yeah, I think so.
Make a motion that we close the hearing on 65 Sears Road and approve the order of conditions, amended order of conditions for the same address.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, good. I'm glad we cleared it up, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request for an order of conditions for the town of Chatham, Ted Keon. It's multiple maps and parcels. It's the comprehensive dredging and disposal program.
Afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
Brad Saunders, our permit specialist, is on the line too. I believe, Brad, you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So this is really a focus on the order of conditions, the draft order of conditions that was provided to us. Just one of the issues that was highlighted in the draft that has not been resolved. We have still not yet received comments from Natural Heritage. I did get an email from Amy Honig from Natural Heritage yesterday, I think, that she thought she might be able to get it by now, but it did not come in. Even if it did, I'm not sure we were ready to jump on it, because there may be some things in there we want to talk about. So that is still an outstanding requirement for you folks to close a hearing. I guess what we'd like to do is run through the order as drafted. We do have several comments with the special conditions to review with you folks. And if that's how you'd like to go?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. Actually, this is completely housekeeping. On the front page, first page rather, one of the supporting documents, I'm sure it's a cut and paste. Down at the bottom, check for state and local finding. We did not have, because we're exempt. So that's just a delete. We already referenced, what had been highlighted about natural heritage. I got confused when I was looking at the page numbers. They're all page 11, but they have letters after that, so I was having trouble reading.
It's a quirky thing.
So, the special conditions that start on 11J. I don't really have any issues with the first few. I believe, and Brad, you can help me on this one when needed. Item 4, once we do get the new natural heritage, that should be a listed bullet point as well. 4, 5, or I mean, it's rather 5, 6, and 7 was an awful lot of notification and so forth. I mean, we do notify, when dredging's occurring. We've never in the past for this routine type of maintenance work gotten into this level of plans and drafting and the wheres and whatses. That can be pretty much stated, I think, simplistically in a, email of we plan to dredge here, place there. It just seemed a little bit more involved than, well, definitely more involved than we've ever done in the past. And I'm just not sure, again, for this typical routine maintenance dredging for the town, that's, all of that is necessarily necessary, because I think we consolidated. The number 8, again, we've almost never had a pre-construction meeting of this nature for our routine dredging. I could see this perhaps being appropriate for improvement dredging, and I'm thinking as an example for 90 Bridge Street, where we'll be doing new work that we've not done before with new equipment, barge equipment and so forth. I could see a pre-construction meeting with the engineer and or the contractor as well as staff. But again, almost all our work is done with the county dredge, out in the harbors here and there, very routine, operations. I'm just not sure, again, for every project at all, that's a necessary item. Item 9 references the eelgrass. Obviously, we are very concerned about eelgrass. What is stated is not the current protocols that we have. We do not currently need, or required rather, to go out and do an eelgrass survey for every job. It's only under certain conditions. Brad had, and this isn't necessarily translated into, the wording, but Brad provided me with sort of the summary of what our current requirements are. And if I may read, National Marine Fisheries does not have a blanket requirement concerning eelgrass surveys. The agency only requires, I don't know where that came from, only requires pre-dredge / pre-disposal eelgrass surveys to be conducted when dredging is to occur within a zone of potential dredging, when the results of a visual survey indicating that dredging may occur within 100 feet of an eelgrass bed, and or when beach nourishment disposal will include the discharge of sediments in land below high water, basically, and within 100 feet of previously mapped eelgrass beds. So we will go out when we're looking at a ZPD, where dredging may be necessary. We look at past maps, we do a visual survey to see if there's any eelgrass, in the vicinity. If we feel there is, then we do an eelgrass survey, but we do not just blanket. That's not a small thing. Can be a very big deal to get the right equipment, get the right contractor. Typically, we've used the Center for Coastal Studies with their sophisticated underwater survey techniques, but we don't blanket do this for every job at all.
Sorry to interrupt. Do we know who's taking over the screen? Who's this?
Mark,
I didn't catch that.
I think Mark is doing it.
All right, it's back to normal, but there was someone else's computer backdrop up on the screen, so I was just confused on who was doing that,
Yeah, I
but.
think he was.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we should be dealing with these as we go along. I don't know how many you have.
Well, I mean, I'm ready for questions, each one, if you want
Yeah, I
to
don't know.
go as we go. That's fine with me.
So Janet did all the heavy lifting on this one, and she did in my mind, a magnificent job, but, so I'm assuming you're still going to capture these comments and.
Well, yeah, that was all, I totally accept that eelgrass surveys are complex and expensive and probably not called for in every instance of routine maintenance dredging. You had some good language, and I think that, is it Brad, provided for you, so if you could just provide that to Nikki, we can
Right.
take a look at that.
I mean, and the language, just for reference, isn't our language. This is the
Yeah.
language that the, marine fisheries folks had provided us during the previous rounds of this, developing this.
I was actually looking for that very language, looking through the documents that I had available to me and could not find
Oh, really?
that. So
Okay.
defaulted to a very broad requirement across the board,
Right.
so happy to take a look at that.
Okay, we can easily provide that.
Okay.
Should we talk about the previous ones that, and having to do by and large with reporting requirements or pre-work activity? I don't know where you, I mean, I will admit, when I read them, I thought, that's a lot, but I don't know where you were
Well,
where you were
'cause
coming from with that.
I was coming from where I always default to, which is process. You create, if you don't know what exactly is
cast the
going to
net
be done, you
wide,
create a
yeah.
process that allows for sufficient review and input. I think what I get that routine maintenance dredging would not necessarily require the production of plans to show presumably you're dredging within the approved area that we've already looked at and is on the plan. And I think what I was trying to do there is say any deviation from the approved plans would require information to go to the conservation agent for review. Where it gets harder is in the zones of potential dredging, because until you decide where within that zone, we don't know where it's going to be.
Right. It may be helpful just to sort of explain the process.
Yes.
Just how we do it, quote, now.
Yep.
We obviously know, we're always monitoring what's going on out there because it's changing all the time. So even now, I'm sort of preparing for what might be the dredging for a year from now. In many ways, it's required for the county to put their schedules together. They, ahead of time, say, where are you going to think you're going to need us next year? So we look at where things are, we looked at where the maintenance has been, routine or needed very frequency. We estimate where and the volumes. And then as the project gets closer and we confirm, yeah, we are going to need Aunt Lydia's Cove, just as an example. Not that far ahead of time, ideally from the county's perspective, they don't want their survey to go out there in October if we're not going to dredge till, March. They want to get out there, near when the work is done for obvious reasons. So we confirm, again, working with town staff, the harbor master, whatever, yep, let's target Aunt Lydia's Cove. So they will survey it, we'll look at it, we'll confirm it's all they all have, they, meaning the county, has all our channel dimensions and locations already in their systems. So we just confirm, okay, we're going to target this corner of the dredge template, and this year we're going to put the sand wherever. Linnell Lane is the typical example. So that process is pretty much the same thing for all our projects.
Okay, so let me stop right there. That sounds like a reasonable, fine process. Would it impose a burden on that process to include the conservation agent in the plan and let her know you're planning on dredging in this particular area and you identified a disposal to go here?
No.
Okay,
And basically, you know, I'll admit that we probably haven't done it religiously to date, just again, because some of these jobs, State Harbor as example, is, you know, every year more or less the same spot the last 4 or 5 years. But no, we can easily identify, here's the survey, this is where we plan to go, and, you know, here's your, you know, here's your heads up.
okay. So the way it's set out here, some of this should stay, that in Special Condition 5, that the Coastal Resources Director as responsible party shall notify in writing the conservation agent 10 days prior to the initiation of each dredging event.
Could
And then-
that constitute email?
Sure, I can take out in writing. Well, I just don't, yeah, email is a writing. I
It
don't,
is, but I'm not, did you interpret that as email?
I did.
yeah,
You did, okay.
yeah, email.
I mean, actually, I read that and I was like, okay, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
All right.
And I read it, the next one, I was like, oh.
Well, skipping
now I'm
over
doing
the
this,
next
and then-
one,
yeah.
skipping over the next one, in conjunction with that, the same written notice would include a list of proposed disposal sites. And for any disposal sites that have protective measures imposed as conditions, just a description of how the disposal will adhere to those, whether it's time of year or avoidance of particular areas or whatever it may be.
I mean, we adhere to the time of years anyway. I kind of read that as redundant too, this just, you know, identifying where and how.
Let me ask it this way, are there, assuming you're, of course, complying with time of year restrictions and you're planning on a disposal at, let's say, Linnell Lane, aside from the time that the nesting area is roped off, are there any other concerns about the ecological vulnerability of that area that you try to avoid putting the sand in certain
Well,
places?
we're always, you know, we're not going to go bury wetlands or marsh systems of any sort. We're not going to fill in or fill over, you know, sensitive vegetation and so
Right.
forth. So, I mean, that's just, again, part of what is already routine.
Yeah, it's routine, but would it be acceptable to mark up the plan of that site, indicating here's where we're planning on disposing and giving that to the agent?
Yes.
So she has a plan, she knows where you're dredging, she knows where you're disposing, and if she has any questions, or we do, it can come back here and
Yeah, no, I
talk
mean,
about
that,
it.
again, if, I was starting to read this as in a detailed type plan, almost engineered level drawings, and
No, it's providing notice to the agent, who in turn can provide it to us, that here's what is being planned, they're going to dredge here and they're going to dispose here.
right.
And if we have questions about whether there are any vulnerabilities in any of those, we can raise them.
I can't think of any of our projects that would be a burden off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know, we always, and we're never sure exactly, some cases, how much volume we'll actually get, so I may highlight this much of an area, but only half of that gets done. So it is somewhat a seat of the pants as the project is going on how far we can go with it or not. Linnell Lane being a good example of that.
Okay, yep. At least, it's just an estimate, but.
Yeah, no.
We
but-
have seen cases in the past, though, where more volume was disposed of than anticipated that did end up in the salt marsh.
Well, and Linnell Lane is a good example. We put material there, then the inlet changed, and everything changed.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just add one thing to this discussion?
Sorry,
It seems that,
who are we?
Brad,
this is
Brad,
Brad
I know who you
Saunders,
are,
I'm
but can you
sorry.
introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Brad Saunders with GEI Consultants.
Okay,
We put the notice of intent together and have been working with the director for a number of years on these projects. I just want to point out that in any of these disposal situations, the town would be disposing material within the areas indicated on the submitted plans. The plans have already been submitted and resource areas identified. So it seems to me that as long as the town is going to be placing material within the areas indicated on the submitted plans, that should be sufficient, and that the notification could simply be, we will dispose of the dredged material on this action on the permitted beach nourishment site for whatever it happens to be, site number BN1, and then have the name of it, without having to go through, we're going to place it in this particular portion of the approved site area. I think that that's probably going to become more difficult for the town as it goes on.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I want to loop Nikki in. If you have thoughts and opinions on these reporting procedures, feel free to chime in. Yeah, go ahead.
My first quick comment was the 10-day notification. I would like to have it more as like a 10 days if possible, because I know, and Ted can speak to this probably better than I can, but sometimes it's a stormy week and, you know, the dredge is not available, or it's not a good time to dredge, you know, for a few days. And so he might be able to all of a sudden get the dredge, you know, 2 days before it can happen. So I don't know if Ted wants to speak to that on the, you know, can we say like approximately 10 days, weather permitting type of phrasing?
Well, the weather delays and uncertainty when the dredge worked is the gross understatement of the year. I mean, we've been dealing that with this past year substantially. I mean, we are required through the CORS process, you know, when we know a project is coming up, we have to pre-notify them within a certain amount of time, just to put it on their radar screen. Hey, we're going to be dredging again, the Stage Harbor Channel, probably going to start around January 15th, and we should be done by whatever. I was sort of assuming that would be the same thing. I wasn't looking at 10 days to be exact when that dredge is on site. I can easily let the agent know, hey, Stage Harbor's on the works. It's probably going to start around June 5th or January 15th. If it starts March 1st, I mean, presumably I would be able to tell her, well, we got delays, so it's now going to be March 1st. I'm not sure what it really matters, in all honesty. It's just, this is the project that's on the slate this time for this period of season, and this is where the sand is going to go.
Right. Let me follow up on your comment back to Nikki. What value, Nikki, do you want to get out of these reports? I mean, for what purpose is it useful to you, and then also by extension to the commission, in your view? I'm sensing that we're not asking for anybody to seek permission for any of these actions. It's just, I'm sensing it is to keep everybody sort of in the loop, on the same page, just in case the agent happens to know, oh, wait a minute, there's something else happening that could impact that or be impacted by it or whatever. Other than that.
I mean, I would say it's almost just trying to keep the town upheld to the same standards that we would a homeowner, that we would want to know when
Okay.
exactly they're doing the dredging, making sure they're adhering to the time of year standards.
Okay.
And then just, and then as far as where exactly dredging is happening, I would be fine with like a Google Maps picture if, you know, if it's slightly deviating here or there, or they're not doing the full project, just kind of like a Google Maps rendering of, you know, marking where they're dredging at that time.
And that's easy.
Dr. Bob, I think, has a comment.
Well, two comments. One, the whole notification issue, that's also important. That's important for the office. Because you folks get phone calls, we get phone calls. And
we
so
don't-
just
we don't-
having that information available to the commission or to the staff, you know, that's really wise. So when somebody from the public calls up and says, hey, what's going on out there, we know, and you know. So that,
All right.
that's the whole notification thing, and that's easily done. We've been doing it for decades. As Ted alluded to, they do a pre-dredge survey before every operation, whether it's the county dredge or we're hiring a commercial company. There's a pre-dredge survey done to, as best we can, estimate the actual volume. Because, these are 10-year permits. And as we all know, as Ted alluded to, conditions change daily in Chatham with regard to dredging. So there's always that pre-dredge survey. Generally, it's done just before the dredging takes place, for obvious reasons. We can certainly, and we've done that in the past, we share that with the agent. It's generally within, in these cases, it's within the zone that you've previously approved under this 10-year permit. The state's previously approved. Now we're getting down to okay, this is exactly where within that zone we're going to be dredging this year. And that may be different from where we dredge 2 years from now. But we can certainly, share that with the agent, prior to the dredging taking place. Personally, I don't think we need to worry so much about, the dredge was delayed. They're not going to start on Monday, they're going to start on Thursday. We're going to notify you folks and the agent that, hey, the dredging is planned for, the first week in January or the second week in January. Whether it happens on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't think you particularly are worried about that. Because you already know, because you've already approved the permit ahead of time, we know where they're dredging and we know where the disposal is going to be. All right.
Right.
Can I interrupt one?
Certainly, Bob.
We have a young lady in the audience, and I'm just wondering if she is
I'm
here.
here for the sewer.
Oh, for the sewer, okay.
Okay, all right.
Just wanted to make sure you weren't here for some of the ones that were continued.
That's very kind, thank you.
Okay.
Well, when you say the sewer, are you here for the pump station or? Okay, because that one's been continued.
When do I come back?
24th.
Bye, y'all. This is interesting. Thank you.
Feel free to come anytime.
Thank you.
All right,
Go ahead.
so,
I have a
yeah, go ahead. No,
I just wanted to respond to Brad's point. This is coming together nicely, since there is a pre-dredge survey done and easily shared with Nicole, which will give her the notice of what's planned, no problem. Don't really care, I don't think, about the exact dates. It's really just having the information available. So Brad's point about the disposal areas referring to the particular beach nourishment number, that, I get that. Maybe you don't need to mark up the survey of the disposal area. But what I would like to figure out how to do is a post-disposal, either a visit or something that the agent can be assured that the disposal happened within that authorized area and did not exceed it. The one that I was thinking about wasn't actually Linnell Lane, it was Quitnesset, where the sand was piled very high and sloughed down and entered the marsh. So that kind of thing triggered this idea that she should be able
Can
to.
I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Hello, somebody has got an open mic here, and we're overhearing our conversation. Would you mind?
Nikki just muted her.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Nikki. Anyway, that's what, so if there's some sort of way, post-disposal notification to the agent so she can double check that the disposal was
it's
properly
easy
within the zone.
Yeah, it's easy to coordinate and say, Nikki, we're all done.
Right. Just a notice, and then she'll go out and she'll report if there's any problem with it. Okay, that will work. That will work.
That's no issue, that's fine.
So Janet, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to make these, how we're going to do these edits here.
What we can do is we'll, like, for 5, 6, and 7, we'll take those, we'll send you some revised language, all right? We'll send that over to Janet and Nikki, because I would agree. I mean, it's 3 separate paragraphs. I think it can probably be consolidated to one, and we'll send you some language based on the conversation we just had.
Good, okay.
All right, so maybe that takes care of reporting. Yeah, other comments, Ted? Are you done?
Not on,
You're not even near done.
Not
Just a quick comment on number 8. I think there's something missing because when you look from one page to the other, at the end of page K, it says at the pre-dredge meeting with period, so I don't know if something's missing there or what, but we'll take a look at it.
Well, I mean, that's also the one that I did have a concern about.
Yeah.
Only because, we've never had a pre-dredge meeting
Right.
for routine work to go out and say, stand at Harding's Beach and say, we're gonna put it here
With
again.
abundance of caution, I was putting in everything I could think of.
Our suggestion is to delete that one.
And having said that, during what we were just describing, if the agent has any interest or concerns about a particular job because it is perhaps different or unique, we absolutely can coordinate, an on-site and so forth. That's always at the discretion of the agent. And then number 9, I highlighted that, as worded, it's not consistent with what our rules are already. We can work on a revised language to sort of tighten it up to what we're already required to do. Most of the next ones, 10, 11, 12, jumping over 13, 14, seemed fine. We got confused, 13 and 15 are repeated, almost verbatim, except for the last portion of 15 added another sentence.
Okay.
Again, 13 seems fine. And then if you want, or just make 15 the one.
Yep. Yep.
I guess we got confused on what the intent was there. Basically just, use best practices.
Right.
We do. Similarly to the previous one about the on-site, the operator dredge shall be approved. That is quite awkward to me. I've never had the commission determine whether the county dredge is the right group to do the work. I just don't see that as needed.
Yeah, I'm not aware that the commission has ever approved excavator operators or anything like that. Sometimes the commission will approve like an on-site engineer or a habitat restoration specialist, but not necessarily the guy driving the excavator or the pickup truck or whatever. So, I mean, I saw that one too and said, I've never seen that before.
And it ties into the next one. I think I know where that came from previous experience with a previous project that was not town-related.
Right.
And certain operators perhaps shouldn't have been operating. So I get it. I just don't necessarily think it's part for our town
Right.
condition, if you catch my drift.
Yep.
And likewise, 17 in general, we've never done the staking out of the vegetated areas where we work. I mean, we stay definitely out of that. The next half is definitely a remnant of the project I was referring to. That's not feasible.
Okay.
And frankly, Harbor Master and the Coast Guard probably wouldn't be happy with me putting steel pipes out in the harbor. So I might suggest we remove that one. But I understand why it was there. Number 22 and 23 are sort of saying the same thing. Brad and I reviewed this very briefly. We feel we should combine those. I do have some wording how to do that.
Okay.
The one thing that I wanted to highlight, as it was worded, it just sort of says, these are your time of years, and that's it. In fact, we work with time of year working within time of year allowances all the time, working with the agencies. So when we know we're going to have an incursion, we do work through the agency process to get allowances for that. So we just want to have that caveat that we can, on occasion, with concurrence and coordination with the agencies.
Yep.
And again, we have some wording to propose for that. 25, ouch. Once again, we've never done that. We don't have engineers, once we've got our permits in place and we know where we're dredging, we know where the issue is, we don't have engineers, redefining that. And that would be a substantial burden on the town to provide that level of detail. I just don't see it necessary whatsoever for our routine maintenance projects. That one really jumped out at me. I was like, wow, that's a biggie. That would put a lot of burden on the town providing all this stuff. I have no problem providing the agent, similar to what we were talking about, with post-dredge surveys. I do that with the Corps and the state anyway, just to show, hey, we did the work, here it is. But to get into that level of, detail seemed a little bit unnecessary, quite frankly.
Noted.
The next one, the intent seems fine. I just think we want to, do a wordsmithing a little bit here and there, just 26 I'm referring to. Minor alterations of the dewatering and disposal area. The engineer, I'd like to replace presumably the director, i.e. my position as the agent for the town. Shall submit an updated plan and work protocol to town staff, put in the agent, I assume there, for review. And then at the very end of that paragraph, protocol approved by, again, the agent or representative. And then the remaining ones seem fine to me, fairly standard. And I think that's pretty much what I had. Brad, did I miss something or not clarify something that you think I should have?
No, I think you covered everything.
So we will work on providing some revised wording for you folks. As I said at the beginning, we are going to have to continue. I don't know that Natural Heritage will have any, new conditions that will be a concern to us, but don't know, haven't seen it yet. It should be pretty straightforward, routine from what's past projects or past permits.
Okay, so we know we're going to continue. You're going to send language. You're going to incorporate it as best you can. And how much time were we talking about?
Jen, I don't recall, did you send this as a Word or as a PDF?
As a word.
Okay, so we have the Word version? Okay.
So a question I had, since you're going to do a fair amount of wordsmithing, what do you think about them editing with track changes on this Word document?
Yeah, or do the revisions and then run a compare documents so that we can, whatever way works, so that we can see.
Changes is the easiest.
Okay, just turn that, yeah,
We'll just take your Word document.
yeah, track the changes. That's fine.
That would speed it up, I think.
It'll make it faster.
Yep. So Nikki can send that to you, the version that Janet's been messing with here. Okay. So anyway, as far as when, next meeting is 2 weeks from now?
Should be.
Yes.
I would say continue it to the 24th if we haven't heard from. I would say continue it to the 24th. If we haven't heard from Natural Heritage, we'll just, again,
Continue
ask for
again.
another continuance at that
Okay.
point.
All right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Based on the email yesterday, I thought I might see it today. So I think we will definitely be getting something very shortly. Whether or not some of the comments will require more back and forth is what I frankly don't know.
We'll give it a shot.
Okay, 24th then.
Make a motion that we continue Town of Chatham, various locations, comprehensive dredging and disposal program to May 24th, 2023.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. See you then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next order of conditions is for 85 Mill Pond Road, Robert Duncanson, PhD, Town of Chatham, map 15C, parcel 085, SE 103627, pump station upgrade.
Aye.
Hello.
We did review the draft order of conditions. It was sent over, I think, yesterday or this morning. Reviewed that with our engineer. We didn't see anything that was a red flag for us. The only comment we had was, I think there's a condition that it indicates there can't be any clearing from, I think it was April to November. And we just questioned that. Obviously, we're not really planning any significant clearing, but depending on when the contractor is hired and gets started, you know, that could pose an issue. My thought was, if that condition just stays in there the way it is, I don't really see an issue with it. If we get to construction and, you know, that time period's going to present an issue, we'll just come back to the commission and ask for a modification to that condition. So I thought that was honestly, the easiest way at this point to handle it.
That was a special condition?
No, it's under the, I just had it. It's under the regular conditions, I think.
Yeah, it's a
for-
standard condition for all of
Oh,
them.
standard
So
condition.
it's for nesting habitat. So basically what I've been telling people is, you know, if you're just cutting down, you know, one tree or something, just make sure you don't see any nests, you know, do a sweep of that tree, that kind of thing. So just do due diligence to try not to, you know, destroy a whole bunch of nesting habitat that's, you know, currently in use and has eggs and all that kind of stuff.
It's under section C.
Okay. All right, so in the findings, I think, Nikki, you did this one, right? So there's some red stuff associated with the second finding, which is describing the mitigation. This is where we keep adding to the ever-growing bill in terms of mitigation for all these pump station projects. And I don't know where we are right now. I don't know who's been keeping track of what we're owed. Many hundreds of square feet, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't have the exact number, but yeah.
I think for after the.
It's not an insignificant number.
No, it isn't. And I think last time we totaled it up to be, what was it, Jen? You had the number after the last one. There were two, added up to like 600 and something or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's called 650.
yeah.
And now we're adding some here. Well, I don't know if we really are. I mean, I tried to argue your case last time that what you're doing is you're actually mitigating the problem.
Right, and that's been our position too. The water quality improvements that the town sees is mitigation.
Well,
right?
I was talking more about the native trees you're.
Yes, and we are doing plantings, and as I said at the last meeting, we're still working with the private property owner to decide exactly what those plantings will be. You know, I did commit they will be native and no fertilizer, no watering needed, you know, that kind of thing. But exact species, we'll have that conversation with the homeowner to see exactly,
Yeah.
you know. We'll give them a list and say, here, what do you want? Or we'll recommend something to them and, you know, based on our work with our landscape architect at the engineers and go from there.
So there's a blank here in terms of overall coverage increase.
I think it's 238.
238.
I just looked back in my notes.
Okay.
That's what I
Yeah,
had.
I was gonna say 230, so that's
For
pretty
some
close.
reason, I wrote 238, so.
All right, I just poked that in
Take it or
there.
leave it.
And so for the second finding, for the mitigation,
It would be
um,
5.
we need to handle it somehow. So we just don't know how much coverage you're adding, how much mitigation you're providing if you counted those trees as mitigation. We don't have the number.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't provided, so whatever that number is, or this is in the Z, so whatever 2 times 238 minus that number would be the amount we would add to the other number.
Right. Why don't we just round it up and say 2 times 250 and 500, and then we'll come back to you with how much is going to be at this site in particular, once we have the landscaping sorted out with the property owner, and then whatever's left out of that, we'll just put into the bigger pot, if you will.
All right, so I said it's the overall coverage, no. We're going, so the mitigation part is just gonna say, we're gonna
You gotta
add 500 square feet,
500 square feet of mitigation,
yeah.
and then we'll see how much we can.
No, no.
And Nikki, I think you can just take my scribbled notes here and pretty it up, but I'm just putting the numbers in, that's all.
Yep, that's fine.
And so whatever's left over from the tree mitigation will be added to the off-site mitigation area for pump projects. But you can, I just scribbling notes, all right.
So just a question while I'm thinking, do we have any more pump station projects coming down the road? Is this something that we want to do, like one comprehensive mitigation at the end plan?
Is it gonna be like the
Do we
sort
not
of
have to deal with
SOC,
this
just
issue?
bigger and bigger and bigger?
There will be more pump stations. You know, the CWMP has a total of 83 pump stations. Now, that number fluctuates as we design some areas. We can either, sometimes we eliminate a proposed pump station from 2006 when we did the master plan. Sometimes we find, because of topography, we have to add a pump station. So it's a fluid number. So yes, there will definitely be more pump stations coming forward. How many of them will be within your jurisdiction, that I don't know at this point. You know, right now, we're dealing with some of the more critical ones and near the water, if you will. You know, as we move further into the inland parts of Chatham, there probably will be a lot of pump stations that won't need to come, you know, through you folks. So it's just, there will be more. I just can't tell you how many and exactly where they're going to be.
All right, so Nikki, are you trying to figure out whether there should be just this area where we keep adding mitigation to for the pump station?
Well, I'm just trying to think maybe, you know, for most of these, I can't imagine we would not be approving them. So I feel like maybe just one larger mitigation plan at the end wouldn't be a wise idea, to incorporate all the different square footages of each one.
But the 84th pump station won't be for many years.
Right, yeah. The end will not
Yeah.
be for another 20-plus years. So honestly, I wouldn't wait till then. I mean, we will start doing something sooner.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean,
It, something to think about if you have a place
yeah.
that you just always add to.
I have a suggestion. It's an interesting idea. I've been for long thought about questions of off-site mitigation. It's done in other jurisdictions, and it's done successfully. I think one of the problems immediately jumped out at me is that these are mitigation for particular project numbers. So each one of these has its own SE number. But maybe you could file a notice of intent for just that purpose, so that it would connect to all of them somehow.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to do that, and then you can add to it, and it can be amended over time. It'll be a pilot. We haven't done this before,
Yeah.
but I like the idea. Just the process issue.
A miscellaneous mitigation area.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Anybody else over here? Bob, do you have?
Yeah, I got a maybe in addition to the special conditions, I think we should have we should add the special condition on the mitigation requirement. Ongoing invasive plant management is required to maintain the restored condition of the mitigation area, just so it can be maintained properly, and to eradicate any invasives that come into play.
So our standard language that we
Yeah.
have in the template, yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna revise that just a bit. It says in that paragraph, one of the sentences reads, "All invasive vegetation in the mitigation area removal shall be promptly removed." I don't even know if that makes sense. All invasive vegetation in the mitigation area, we have to get rid of that word removal, shall be promptly removed and/or treated. We should add that in case they want to use a herbicide on the invasive plants, and properly disposed of. So I don't know if we can add that, Nikki, or revise that.
So I think I deleted that because there wasn't really any invasive removal proposed, if I remember correctly.
No, but, well, we should have something in there that, so that if any invasive plants come into play, they should be removed.
Okay,
or
yeah, I
treated.
can add that. Yeah, I can, there's definitely a standard condition, so I can add that in and then revise it as necessary, since they're not technically removing invasives
Yeah,
for this project, but if they encroach onto the mitigation plantings, they do need to be removed.
yeah. And then also, because it's within the 0 to 50, I don't know if you wanted to add that condition about the no pesticides or fertilizers in that area, except for invasive plant removal.
So I think Dr. Bob can correct me, I don't think they're allowed to use any pesticides on these properties anyway, as part of a, Chatham, no pesticides used on our town properties. But yes, I
Just
can
so
make
we're
sure that
clear,
one's.
it's herbicides. Pesticides are different than herbicides, as I'm sure you guys know. So yeah, the town has a policy against the use of glyphosate-based herbicides on town property, so we wouldn't be using them anyway. So.
But we should have the condition about using pesticides in general, close to, in the 0 to 50.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You can certainly put it in. We would have no intention of using anything like that
Yeah.
anyway, so.
Yeah,
It makes us feel better to have it in there, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close to the water, we're not.
yeah.
Okay. Is that all?
That's all I had, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. So, a little bit of wordsmithing. Not much. And so, I think we could approve this with changes as discussed.
Make a motion that we close the hearing on 85 Mill Pond Pump Station and approve the order of conditions as noted.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I just want to reiterate for anybody that has come in a little bit later, that the hearings for the gravity sewer system for the town of Chatham, RDA, 552 Orleans Road, 16 Windmill, and 45 Old Harbor notices of intent have been continued, just so in case anyone's on the line, they aren't waiting for that. So with that said, 0 David's Lane, Chatham Conservation Foundation, map 10A, parcel 2A, SE 103626, flush cut previously pruned trees in the view easement area and restore the management area with native shrubs that will not include maintenance to maintain views. Order of conditions.
Anyone here for 0 David's Lane?
Teresa?
Going, gone. All right, well, let's talk about any changes that, comments that we have here on the commission on the draft. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Looks like Janet, you've been in here.
I just made one change referencing the pruning of the trees because they're now being removed.
Oh, okay.
So, other than that, I didn't have anything.
All right. Anyone else? That was my pleasure.
Yeah.
At least I didn't have to do the dredging one.
You had it
Oh.
done before I even saw the request. So thank you.
I did have a question on special conditions. It's starting in all the conditions. There's a repeated references to mitigation area, and that caught my attention because, is this mitigation?
Well, it's really, no,
It's like,
it's not mitigation.
so one thought you can either call it maybe the project
It's
area.
restoration.
or
You
the-
might call
or-
it restoration.
Or, what else did I say? The view corridor area, and I don't like that. The restoration area, maybe, because it's not really mitigating for
You're right.
anything, anyway.
So how many times does that happen?
Oh, that's easy, you just,
I can't do it in all cases, can I?
maybe.
You can do a global,
Yeah.
look for mitigation area and do restoration area.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it.
Yeah, as a substitute.
I know, but I was just wondering whether or not there's any that I don't want to do that to, but probably
It will
not.
show
It
us
will
all,
show you if you,
skip over some.
yeah. But I think you might be safe.
I will do that.
Okay.
Anything else? So nobody here again for 0 David's Lane. We're,
Let's approve it.
all right. And I guess you're gonna,
Forever
hope you like it. So I guess we can, I'll work on, for some reason, search and replace is not working the way I want it to work here, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's just an extra word removal that I found the last time I spoke, the third sentence to the end. All invasive vegetation in the, now it's called the restoration area. Remove the word removal shall be,
Where are we? This is
special condition number 3.
3, okay.
All invasive vegetation in the mitigation area, that's now restoration area. Remove the word removal right after that.
Ah, there it is, yeah.
Okay.
And it should read, shall be promptly removed and/or treated and properly disposed of.
Properly removed and treated,
And/or treated, yeah,
and/or treated.
and properly disposed of.
And, all right. I'm just going to leave this one open for later. I can't get my search and replace working, but anyway. So, I think we're good with this
All
one. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the order of conditions for 0, with the changes noted for 0 David's Lane.
Latin second?
Roll call vote, Cheryl,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Next up, we have the restoration order for 93 Orleans Road, William and Carmel Ferguson, map 15H, parcel 114, for the tree and vegetation removal in jurisdiction.
Good afternoon. Phil Cheney here on behalf of Mr. Ferguson. For the most part, everything looks fine. I do have a request. If I'm going to become the clerk of the works for the project, it would really expedite and streamline things if I were to do the staking and layout and the as-built, rather than bringing in a surveyor to mark these things out. It's not a particularly complicated project as far as the areas involved. I just think it would make a lot of sense and eliminate some of the potential delays trying to get an engineer to go out and stake a couple of points, so forth there, when I can handle all that on a shot. So that basically, in the general requirements, A number 2,
A number 4,
in the, I'm sorry?
A number 4?
And, well, number 4 is naming me as the clerk of the works.
Right, okay.
Number 2 is about the requiring markers and so forth for, done by an engineer or surveyor.
Right. Nikki, this was, who did this one? Nikki did, right.
Yes,
okay.
I did this one.
Okay.
So as far as you being the clerk of the works, it was basically just the person I contact if I have, questions.
Right.
And you're ultimately the person I'll go to ask any questions or why something's delayed and that kind of stuff.
Right.
The having an official land survey engineer, I'm okay with you doing that as well. If I get the plan and I feel like it doesn't, has any significant changes from what was approved, then we can discuss it, whether we need an official survey or not. But I don't have a problem with you being the one that issues the final plan.
I appreciate that. And, yeah, same thing as far, yeah, you're talking about the as-built, which would be in, D9, I believe, as well.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, B and C on D9 would be included in that part. So that sort of just encompasses the whole request I have, is that we just, cut out bringing in somebody else to gum up the process.
All right.
Not to speak disparaging of engineers or surveyors, because I'm sure for once there's no one listening.
Some cretin off the street, yeah, okay. So, Nikki, will you make these changes then to this document?
Yes, I can. I can reword them to say that Phil is allowed to be the one that submits the final as-built and plan for certificate of compliance.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
And number 8 and the restoration requirements should be changed to restoration instead of mitigation as well then.
True. I'll just change that one since I have it open.
And I think we should add the one about the no pesticides, fertilizers, or no permanent irrigation is allowed in this area.
So I'll just make a note. Standard language for, about pesticides.
Yeah, I thought I saw that in there, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere. But
Somewhere, well, you can take it back out again, but I just put it in there as a reminder.
And then I had the concern that just to make sure we had a Cape Cod lawn out back. I don't know if that's on the plan or.
I believe I referred to it as fescue lawn in the back,
Yeah.
the standard,
Yeah.
hard fescues, and so that's what we'll be using, and that and the mow strip.
Yeah, without irrigation.
Correct, just temporary, above ground.
Okay, and that's on the
Yes,
plan as well?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
I flagged the, I highlighted and put a note next to special restoration requirement 2, which is the requirement of recording at the Registry of Deeds. We have not had great success with this requirement since we first started putting it into these orders. It was put in, obviously, to put subsequent owners on notice that there was a violation and there is an ongoing restoration. But we had to take it out of a few because it was negotiated out. And then we ran into problems with the registry, who refused to record a document called a restoration order because it's not on their list of things that are recordable. So I'm not sure whether it's been some years since we've asked them to record something. I do think it's a prudent step, but we can leave it and see how it goes. But if this year they kick it back and say they will not record it, we might need to rethink whether we have it in here.
I think the case that you're thinking of, didn't we wind up filing basically a memo saying that there's one on file?
Yes.
As a restoration plan?
Yes.
I mean, we could add a sentence in, if this is not accepted, or if this is not feasible, we could do something like that. You know, but having it on record in some fashion is obviously better from our perspective. Don't care.
I mean, I don't plan on doing the.
This is not your problem. Right?
Recording, but yeah, I have no idea if that's possible or not. I'm terrified every time I go over there.
So I could just put in here alternatively. I hate that. I don't want to wordsmith this right in real time, but anyway. Alternatively, if I can only spell alternatively.
Leave it, I can write some lines.
Yeah, just something in there.
Yeah, I'm highlighting it so that I don't forget.
Okay.
And then I'll write something that, oh, you can't, you need
I'll get out of it.
special permission.
Oh, what? Can you do it now?
Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add that.
All right. All right, we're good. I think we are, go forth and restore.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, wait, we'll just vote on it, yeah, let's do that.
Make a motion that we approve the restoration order for 93 Orleans Road.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
All right, next up we have all the ones that are going to be continued to 5/24. And we have talked to all of, well, you heard Sean Riley earlier, so I don't know if Crystal got a hold of him, but I got a hold of, obviously, Bob Duncanson and the other two applicants, so they are aware that these are being continued. The first one is a request for determination of applicability for various locations, town of Chatham, construction of gravity and or low pressure sewer. So I was hoping that we could continue this to 5/24, have it on as an agenda item earlier in the meeting, and then also as an approval potentially of the determination. So I can, in the middle of the meeting, I can add any conditions that were brought up, and then, hopefully we can get it kind of issued the same day. Because it is just it's an RDA, so those are usually pretty easy to get out. So I guess we'll handle that one first and see how you think about trying to go that route.
That woman that was here, I think she said she was here for this.
Yes,
So
she
I
was.
don't think we can I just, my
It
personal,
sounded like she was going to comment
yeah.
on this.
And I think a lot of the people who were on the platform were also,
There may have been others, yeah. Because
Okay.
it's wide-ranging, it's affecting many sections of town.
Yeah, so I don't know that we're going to be able to open and close it all in one session.
Well,
All right, so
Be nice, but
do you think it's even worth me drafting it in advance and just in case? I mean, sometimes people are just interested and they don't actually have comments, or would you prefer to wait?
I would, if I were a betting guy, I would say most people just have questions. And probably no comments along the lines that would affect what we write up. So I think it's entirely possible we will be able to vote on it in 2 weeks.
All right, so I'll put it on for both. And if we end up deciding not to issue the actual determination, then so be it. But at least it'll be on the agenda if
Right,
if we can do it.
yeah, it makes sense, especially for an RDA.
All right, so since I opened that one separately, if we could just vote to continue to 5/24.
Make a motion that we continue various locations, town of Chatham, gravity and/or low-pressure sewer to May 24th, 2023. And that's a request for determination of applicability.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
aye,
Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
aye,
Karen?
Aye.
Elise?
aye,
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, so I'm going to open 16 Windmill Lane by itself, and Halleck map 16A parcel 19H3 SE103630, replace cesspool with a Title V or with a new Title V system with IA, innovative alternative. No additions to the dwelling. It's kind of along the same lines of the RDA that we just spoke about. That I don't think there's going to be a lot of discussion, maybe some modifications to an order of conditions, adding a few special conditions, but maybe if we can draft that one up as well. And, hopefully we can approve it. And if there's too many changes or questions, we can, continue it again. But, so that's, again, along the same lines of the one we just talked about.
Right, I agree with what you said. It's pretty straightforward. It's almost an RDA.
Yeah, I would have told him to file an RDA if
If they had asked.
he had called before, yeah.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we continue the notice of intent for 16 Windmill Lane to May 24th, 2023.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Cheryl.
aye,
Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
aye,
Karen?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, and the next two, those are really more of the actual notices of intent, so I didn't know if anyone thought, like I asked before, if you could send me any comments to send to the project managers, and we can see if they need to revise their plans and get that done ahead of time. That'd be great. Again, not on any group email, just straight to me. But these two, I mean, they're both still just continued to 5/24, but I didn't know if anyone thought that they were worth bothering drafting an order or not at this time.
Yeah, it's hard to say. These are not simple.
Right, that's why I kind of just assumed they'd be 5/24 and then probably the next, or, if they get approved, the next hearing, and but at least give them the chance to modify some plans in the week that we have off.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
If anyone had
It doesn't hurt if we have, I would say, more broader questions or things that appear to be missing. But in terms of, comments that would lead, or that relate to asking for changes to it, I think that's probably better done than an open hearing.
It's only a 2-week delay. If they, if we have questions at that time, 2 weeks later, we meet. So if there were no questions that have an OOC 2 weeks later, if there are questions, then still sort of the same situation. 2 weeks later, they've got time to answer them.
They're enduring a month delay because of circumstances beyond their control. So I understand where Nikki's coming from on trying to get them feedback in advance. But we're still going to have to deliberate. It never hurts to have a draft OOC in the works based on what we know, and then modify it based on the discussion in 2 weeks. If it turns out it's simple modifications, then perhaps we can vote. If it doesn't, then we just simply have to continue.
That's true. And I just also wanted to we have that April 1st deadline for invasives, which obviously we've already passed, but, so I didn't know exactly when they were starting their work. So that's just something to consider as well. But I can talk to the actual agents about that.
Yeah, talk to them about
or
that,
the,
yeah.
Reps, yeah.
I mean, there's only so much we can do in terms of accommodating the situation that happened.
But yes, just trying to get especially the other two, approved and voted on officially, and getting them their permit was my main priority. The two vegetation ones, I don't think it's too big of a deal. I talked to the representatives, so.
Yeah. It just is what it is, I think.
Yes.
But if people
But anyway, so those two
have,
can be moved to the 24th as well. I just wanted to get your opinion on whether you wanted me to draft an order yet or not.
you can always start. It just gets you ahead of the game, especially if you're doing it.
That is my plan. Since we
Okay.
have an off week for the meeting next week, and we don't have a lot coming up for drafting documents.
No, I think that's
should
great.
have
It's
no
great
problem.
if you can draft whatever you know in terms of the OOC, and even if we don't wind up, reviewing it for in 2 weeks, at least when we finally do get to the point where we can review it, we've already done the work, or most of the work.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I was just trying to get them their permit as soon as we can, because it was my fault, honestly. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't get too delayed.
I mean, we just don't know what comments we're going to get from abutters on these two as well. So I think we just had to follow the process as impacted as it was.
All right, sounds good. So I don't think I actually opened the second one, did I? The Old Harbor.
No.
So we
No.
can continue those at the same time.
Same
So
time,
45 Old Harbor Lane, Salt Meadow Limited Partnership, map 16I, parcel 6, MR1, SE 103629, invasive management and restoration of a 29,000 square foot area. And again, along with 552 Orleans Road, if we could continue those to 524.
Actually, I'm overdressed. Apartment trails with this.
I guess, Nikki, you're going to find who that is and mute them?
Yep,
Okay.
there we go.
I'll make a motion that we continue 552 Orleans Road and also 45 Old Harbor Lane to May 24th, 2023.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
And I don't believe I had any unforeseen items that I'm aware of.
Are we aware of any unforeseen items?
Do we have any update on geranium? The enforcement order, the rest
Oh,
of
yeah,
the,
right, yeah.
I think, didn't they, I don't know when they were supposed to report back to us, but
Don't believe that we had an exact date. It was kind of just the issuance.
okay. Just curious.
I'll have to look.
And
Just a second.
I mentioned earlier, 299 Cranberry, we were going to do an order of conditions in April, quote unquote. Of course, I don't know, did they go to zoning? I think it was going to be April 27th. And I'm wondering if they had any issues or whether we ought to be dealing with that.
I think we, maybe not have gone out to all of you, but I think Crystal and I talked about that one. What was the address again?
I think it's 299 Cranberry Lane.
Yeah, we should have a email from Thad explaining, because I had asked him about that one this week.
I'm sorry, Chris, I couldn't hear all that. You said you have something from Thad?
I had emailed him this week to
Yes,
check
you
on that
emailed
one.
him, but I haven't gotten anything back.
Okay,
that I'm
okay.
aware of.
I think I did. Let me just look through my email.
So it's going to go on 5/20, Crystal said it was going to go on the 5/24 agenda just to keep it on our radar, which is what I think we need to do a lot more of, is just keeping all these continued things, I mean, somewhat on future agendas, make sure that we can keep track of them, because it gets difficult, obviously, with so many filings.
So Thad responded that they applied to ZBA last week, and he would let me know when it's scheduled.
Okay, they just applied. Okay,
Originally it was going to be.
right. What else did you have?
They're generally a
I said
month-ish
Easter
out.
Hoe, but I couldn't remember approving it. What?
ZBA is generally about a month out, so,
Yeah, originally he had said, I thought that April 27th, they were going before. So they just got delayed an extra month, which is fine. It's just a big one.
We approved it on May 12th, April 12th.
So it's traveling, that's why. Okay.
That'll do it.
How about wood carver? Have we done that one?
That keeps popping up.
Yeah,
23, wood carver, continued until after they file at ZBA.
oh, okay.
Haven't heard anything.
Has wood carver filed with ZBA, do you know?
or sorry, let me pull up that email as well. I know that was,
It was on an agenda recently.
May 3rd.
Yeah, and then I don't think we did anything.
was this one, you said 23?
23, yeah.
Wood carver Knoll.
Oh, yes, yeah, that one, 5/1, we had sent, David Clark a message, and he said he doesn't even know if it's been filed with ZBA yet, so.
Okay. All right, those were my
The
questions.
ones that you're tracking, okay.
Good, I'm glad someone, I've now highlighted them. So.
Along the same vein, Nikki, I think, would it be possible for you to give us a list of violations that are open? In other
Yeah,
words,
I don't see why not.
yeah, in other words, they have not been resolved. Because I keep thinking about different ones, and I don't know whatever happened to them.
Yes, if anyone could, because I'm sure we haven't had a ton of violations. I feel like, since I've been here. I don't know if there's any outstanding ones from before me that you're thinking about.
I am.
that
Well,
might not be on my radar at all.
there's a couple, the ones that came up recently, they're adjacent to each other, and Paul was working them, and I don't remember the address. Or those are the geraniums, okay.
Yeah.
They're both, okay, I got it, okay.
That's what I was asking.
There was also the one on Morris Island Road.
Oh, yes,
No, what happened to that? Yeah, the shed
And more importantly,
in the
and
garden.
the garden.
garden, yeah, in the,
Oh, yeah, okay.
that one keeps coming back in my dreams.
Oh, poor you.
When you drive
All right,
past
so
it
maybe
going.
what,
It's still, that shed's still there.
Exactly.
And there are a couple of others, but I can't remember the address. You know, there was that big tree that we were all worried that got cut down, and we were driving past it a few months ago. Is that it, Cedar
Cedar
Street?
Street.
Yeah. Just,
all right, so maybe what I'll do is make a document in Dropbox under the May 24th hearing
right,
that says, just enforcement. So I'll put the geraniums on there. I'll put, we just finished 93 Orleans, well, for now. And if everyone could just kind of edit it and add any addresses that you think of that need to be followed up on.
yeah, and maybe we could then just maintain that document ongoing, and, because I think that some of these tend to get forgotten about.
Yeah, oh, they definitely do. It's, it's especially when they become, oh, we'll get planting, it's, November, so we're not going to plant until the following spring, and then it gets forgotten and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it would definitely be good to keep an ongoing running document of that, especially the ones that were, from before me.
Right. Hopefully there aren't too many of those. Okay,
I did get an update that 107's Taylor's Pond is finally getting planted.
Oh,
oh, excellent.
yay.
Amazing.
I know.
All right, without further ado,
Motion to adjourn.
Latin second.
I'll call vote. Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob. Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Lise.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So thank you all.